long-awaited single-player DLC for Uncharted 4 has finally been released, but calling it DLC could be doing it a disservice. I'm Darcblade and this is our video review of Uncharted the Lost Legacy. Developed by Naughty Dog and published by Sony Computer Entertainment, Uncharted the Lost Legacy was released in August of 2017 exclusively for PlayStation 4. It was a single-player expansion for Uncharted 4 at Thief's End, but in some respects could be its own game. This is probably the main reason why you could buy The Lost Legacy in a standalone format, but is it any good? Now, as always with reviews, I'll try to avoid major story spoilers. With Uncharted 4 concluding the adventures of Nathan Drake, The Lost Legacy instead features one of his allies, Chloe Fraser. Following the events of Uncharted 4 at Thief's End, Chloe has now enlisted Nadine Ross to help her find a lost treasure in India, the Tusk of Ganesh. Together they must uncover the mystery as they race across India competing for a goal against a warmonger known as Assav. Chloe maintains much of the happy-go-lucky attitude found in other games in the series. She in some ways is a female counterpart to Nathan Drake in terms of their wit and mannerisms. It's not all fun and games though, as more of Chloe's history is revealed. Her family have ties to the treasure they are hunting and results in us seeing more emotion and heartache from Chloe. Nadine Ross was one of the main antagonists of Uncharted 4. The transition from villain to hero is not an easy one though, as Ross still harbours resentment for the loss of her mercenary army in the last game. At the beginning of the game she is curt and hostile towards Chloe, despite being partners. This doesn't last long though, and Ross and Chloe warm up to one another as they get closer and closer to their goal. The other main character in the game is Assav, an Indian warmonger, who is also searching for the Tusk of Ganesh. With it, he hopes to inspire his people into revolution and rise up against the Indian government. Assav's character is one of the weaker elements in the game, to be honest. It felt in all honesty he could have done with a bit more screen time in order to gauge his character and motivations. While yes, he was menacing in the scenes he was in, it felt that he could have had more time to shine as a villain. The game's story could be divided into 3 acts. Act 1 takes place in a war-torn city. It's very scripted, but does a nice job of setting the stakes. Act 2 is by far the biggest act. This has Chloe and Nadine exploring a small open world. During this you uncover mysteries of the Tusk as well as little side adventures going after collectibles. Act 3 is the final act and again is more scripted, but it brings the story to its conclusion. The Lost Legacy's story is short and sweet. It is nice to explore other Uncharted characters away from Nathan Drake. Chloe makes the game though, and without her presence I fear the story would fall flat. Ultimately, the story is a popcorn game, an adventure game, a game that is not going to make you think about the meaning of life, it's there to entertain. Uncharted the Lost Legacy plays exactly like Uncharted 4 at Thief's End. Using the same engine and mechanics, it gives players a smooth third-person action adventure. Shooting plays just as good as it did in previous games. Platforming is light, and most areas that you can jump on are highlighted with white or yellow handholds. The grappling hook also returns from a Thief's End. Using this, Chloe can climb and swing to ledges, adding to the variety of platforming this game offers. There are also light puzzle elements in the game, that each have their own unique twist, not really found in any other Uncharted game. Melee combat also returns, for when gunplay fails. Chloe fights a lot differently from Nate, who is more like a brawler. Chloe is more precise in her melee attacks. Thanks to the game's second act also being a pseudo open world experience, you have a lot more opportunities to go off the beaten track and explore. This also allows you to take on the game's enemies in more than one way. You can go in guns a-blazing if you want, or if you're like me, you can take them out using stealth. Stealth has always been in Uncharted games, but Lost Legacy seems to give you ample opportunities to take your foes out silently. The main new mechanic, not seen in any other Uncharted game, is the lockpicking mechanic. Chloe is able to pick locks and thus gain access to doors and crates throughout the game. This comes in handy as it gives you access to collectibles and high-powered weapons. Uncharted the Lost Legacy is not the hardest game out there. Well, not unless you play on crushing difficulty. And apart from a few beginner's traps causing a few deaths, I was able to breeze through most of it. Also with Uncharted the Lost Legacy, you will have an opportunity to play the Uncharted Multiplayer. This includes competitive 5v5 modes, as well as a few co-op modes. This remains identical to the multiplayer found in Uncharted 4 at Thief's End. If you want more details on the multiplayer, then please check out the other videos on the channel regarding Uncharted 4. The Lost Legacy continues the Uncharted series' reputation for having some of the best console graphics around. From character models, design, music and voice acting, it's all high tier. Character models are detailed during cutscenes, and thanks to Naughty Dog's use of facial capture, we are able to see emotions through characters' faces and body language. The environments are varied and incredibly detailed. Every aspect, such as your character getting dirty as they slide down a hill, shows the attention to detail that has been put into this game. The voice acting is some of the best around. Whilst yes, there are a little bit of teething problems at the start of the game, this was reconciled as the game went on. Each voice actor does well at bringing their respective character to life. Lastly, the score maintains the epic adventure melodies we have come to recognise with the Uncharted series. Overall, Uncharted the Lost Legacy is an example of a single player DLC done right, although calling it a DLC is insulting. In some respects it's a game all by itself. While maybe not as long as other Uncharted titles, it's still deserving of high praise. The story is a popcorn adventure though, as you uncover the mysteries that India holds. Gameplay is smooth and what you expect of an Uncharted game, and the presentation is some of the best of this console generation. Naughty Dog have really given us something that should be the standard when it comes to DLC, and other developers could learn something from them. If you are at all interested in Uncharted the Lost Legacy, then I would first advise going back and playing the other Uncharted titles first. There are some elements in Lost Legacy's plot that could leave you, well, lost. But having played the previous titles and catching up, then I would strongly recommend Lost Legacy. On the other hand, if you are an Uncharted fan, then I cannot recommend the Lost Legacy enough, especially if you want one last foray into the world of Uncharted. Anyway, I've been Darcblade, bringing you our video review to Uncharted the Lost Legacy. Hope you enjoyed the video, thanks for watching, subscribe and like for more.